on World News Tonight. Collapsing catastrophe. Florida races against time to uncover survivors under the rubble. Intensifying crackdown. High-strung conflicts between Malaysia leaves thousands homeless. Concerning outbreak. A brand new variant spreads rapidly around the globe as infections rack up. The Scarlet Sales. Students celebrate the end of an era as fireworks light up the night sky.
From the global resources of the Derana Media Network, this is the Derana World News Tonight. Now reporting from Studio 24 in Colombo, here's Suzanne Shenali.
A very good evening and thank you for joining with us on World News Tonight. We start off today's coverage with the COVID crisis around the globe. A mutated version of the Delta variant known as Delta Plus has now been reported in 11 countries. Combined with a spike in the original Delta variant, a number of countries are seeing surges of new COVID-19 cases, prompting authorities to reimpose restrictions.
Still struggling to tackle the highly contagious Delta variant, 11 countries have now reported cases of the Delta Plus variant, including the UK, the United States, and India. Health experts are investigating whether Delta Plus is more transmissible than other strains, but they say it's too early to know at the current time. However, studies show the mutation may contribute to immune escape, meaning there may be more resistance to antibodies formed through vaccines or previous infections. The Delta Plus variant, first detected in India, has been reported in at least 51 cases in 12 states in India. 4 deaths have also been reported in India due to the Delta Plus variant after registering the first related death on Saturday. However, experts say there's no clear evidence yet to show that Delta Plus is significantly more dangerous than Delta. The Delta variant also continues to ravage Moscow. The Russian capital has reported its worst daily COVID-19 death toll since the pandemic began, with 144 deaths over the past 24 hours alone. With just 14% of its adult population having received at least one vaccine dose, experts cite the slow vaccination drive as well as the Delta variant as the main causes driving the city's third wave. In response to the spread of the Delta variant, travel restrictions are going into effect around the world, including Germany, which is imposing a flight ban for travelers from Portugal and Russia from Tuesday. Travelers from those countries will also be banned from entering by rail, bus, or ship.
Outbreaks emerge across Australia as well in a new phase of the pandemic, and new cases are linked to the highly contagious Delta variant. Let's cross over to Other Than a World News special correspondent Timothy Phillip from Melbourne in Australia to give us more details. Timothy?
Yes, Shana. A COVID outbreak in Sydney has grown to 128 cases. A small number of positive infections has also been recorded in the Northern Territory, Queensland and Western Australia. This is the first time in months that cases have emerged in multiple parts of the country at the same time. The escalation in COVID infections has prompted lockdowns in the cities of Sydney and Darwin, as well as restrictions across 4 states. The situation remains most concerning in Sydney, where some 5 million residents are subject to a stay-at-home order. While the 2 cases in Western Australia have been traced back to the Sydney outbreak, the positive cases in Queensland and the Northern Territory have been linked to people who became infected despite completing hotel quarantine. The remote Northern Territory has recorded 7 cases, prompting authorities to extend a lockdown of the capital Darwin until Friday. Back to you, Shana.
Thank you. That was Other Than a World News special correspondent Timothy Phillip reporting from Melbourne in Australia. With less than 30 days to go for the opening ceremony for the Tokyo 2021 Games, Japan ramps up its preparations, but with the pandemic causing more severe outbreaks, citizens still have their concerns. Other Than a World News special correspondent Rasida Chandradasa from Tokyo, Japan reports.
The Japanese Emperor Naruhito made a rare public comment through his official spokesman where he raises concerns over the safety issues during the Olympics. While this shows that the emperor is keenly following the public debate, a comment like this is extremely rare from the emperor. And some says this is unheard for past 20 years. The emperor is well respected in Japanese public, and his comments carry a huge weight. So no doubt this would be another headache for the government as well as the organizing committee. A day earlier, we heard another unfortunate news that another member of the Ugandan Olympic team have tested positive for the COVID and is in self-isolation in Osaka. This has raised the alarm bells within the public as well as the local media, who were continuously questioning the organizing committee as well as the government over the policies during the Olympics, mostly related to the tens of thousands of foreigners expected during the event. There was also another surprise news. The Tokyo Metropolitan Governor Koike Yuriko was suddenly admitted to hospital a few days ago in a fatigue-related health issues. While she is expected to have a few days of break, this surprises many and may be the reason for her silence over past few days. Koike-san, as the governor of Tokyo, is hosting the event, and also she is governing a city which is by far the richest and the biggest in Japan, and also considered to be the richest per GDP in the whole world. So the extra Olympic burden might have caused her health issues, and we were all expecting her to be back with refresh and ready to organize a successful Olympic event. In the local front, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government election is scheduled on July 2nd. With a week to go, and the opinion poll shows the Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide's ruling Liberal Democratic Party is set to become the largest party in Tokyo, while the Koike Yuriko's own Tokyo First Party is heading towards a massive defeat. On the vaccination front, while the vaccination locally, Japan was one of the slowest in the whole world, it has taken a massive step up greatly. Private institutions, with the help of the government as well as the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, have set up their own vaccination control centers, and there was a big expectation that the vaccination process to speed up in July and August. And by the start of the Olympics, we might see the vaccination numbers have increased. Although many expect Japan would still be the least vaccinated country among the developed nations at the start of the Olympic.
Torrential rains today prompted Hong Kong authorities to issue a black rainstorm warning and temporarily suspend its stock trading session as floodwaters gushed over roads in Lantau. The city has 3 levels of the rainstorm warning, with black being the highest after amber and red. Landslides and floodings were reported in some parts of Hong Kong as it was hit with high amounts of rainfall. It was the city's first black rainstorm warning this year, with more than 150 millimeters of rain reported in the western part of Hong Kong and islands of Lantau and Lama. Several other districts saw at least 70 millimeters of rain. Schools and COVID-19 vaccination services were also suspended due to safety concerns. However, during the latter part of the day, trading on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange finally got underway after the black rainstorm warning was lifted as the extreme weather conditions eased. Let's go into a short commercial break. We'll be back on the other side with more world news. Welcome back. Classified documents from Britain's Defence Ministry containing details about a British warship and Russia's potential reaction to its passage through the Black Sea have been found at a bus stop in southern England.
Over 50 pages of classified documents from the UK's Defence Ministry have reportedly been found at a bus stop in southern England, with notes in them about the NATO withdrawal from Afghanistan, US President Joe Biden's China strategy, and discussion over how Russia would react to the British warship that sailed near Crimea last week, sparking an incident with Russian forces. The papers are said to have been found by a member of the public in a soggy heap on Tuesday, a day before the warship incident. Russia said on Wednesday it had fired warning shots and dropped bombs in the path of the ship to chase it out of what it says are its territorial waters, but which Britain and the Western world say belong to Ukraine. Britain rejected Russia's account of the incident. It confirmed the destroyer had sailed through what it said were Ukrainian waters, describing its path as innocent passage in accordance with international law of the sea. The document suggested the ship's mission was conducted in the expectation that Russia might respond aggressively. The Ministry of Defense said the employee concerned reported the loss of the sensitive documents at the time, but declined to comment further, saying it would be inappropriate.
There was a confrontation in Florida that more people have perished inside a high-risk condo complex near Miami. Death toll rose to 9 with more than 150 people still missing as rescue teams pick through the rubble for a fourth day.
So I am confirming today that the death toll is at 9.
As the death toll rose to 9 Sunday with more than 150 people still missing, rescue teams kept picking through the rubble of the Miami area condo building that collapsed last week. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava said the additional bodies and human remains were found as the rescue team dug a massive trench through rubble overnight. The 4 of the 9 victims identified ranged in age from 54 to 83. They were a couple married for 58 years, a volunteer Little League baseball coach, and the mother of a 15-year-old boy who was one of the few survivors of the collapse. Officials remained hopeful more survivors would be found in air pockets that may have formed in the pancaked debris. The searchers, including experts sent by Israel and Mexico, are using drones, sonar, dogs, and infrared scanners. Meanwhile, questions swirl about the tower's structural integrity. Surfside officials have released documents including an engineer's report from 2018 that found major structural damage beneath the pool deck and concrete deterioration in the underground parking garage of the 12-story building. The report was produced for the Champlain Towers South Condominium Board in preparation for a major repair project set for this year. A lawyer who works with the condo association said the issues outlined in the report were typical for older buildings in the area and did not alarm board members, all of whom lived in the tower.
At his first rally since leaving the White House, former President Donald Trump lambasted the Biden's administration immigration policies and sought to energize Republicans to take back majorities in the Congress next year.
Because what happened on November 3rd was a disgrace.
Donald Trump aired his regular grievances at a rally in Wellington, Ohio on Saturday, his first since leaving the White House. In front of thousands of supporters, the former president once again spread false claims of fraud in the 2020 elections.
They used COVID in order to cheat. They used COVID in order to rig the election and in order to steal the election.
Blasted the Biden administration's immigration policies along the U.S.-Mexico border.
I don't know if they're doing it out of naivete or are they doing it because they think it's really good to have all these people coming into our country. But they are putting your family into a very, very bad position.
And dangled a possible run in the 2024 elections, while maintaining he rightfully won against current President Joe Biden back in November.
We won the election twice. And it's possible we'll have to win it a third time. It's possible.
Trump hopes to re-energize Republican voters to take back majorities in Congress during the midterm elections next year. Democrats hold the majority in both chambers by a razor-thin margin. But Trump's return to a big rally also saw him lashing out at elected members of the same party, who he views as having crossed him. In Ohio, he campaigned for former White House aide Max Miller, who is challenging House Representative Anthony Gonzalez's seat in the midterms next year. Gonzalez is one of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump on a charge of inciting the deadly U.S. Capitol attack by his supporters. Trump has vowed to campaign against all 10 that voted against him.
About 5,000 Afghan families have fled their homes in Kunduz after days of fighting between the Taliban and the government forces, with the insurgents continuing to surround the key northern city.
They left their homes in a hurry. Bed sheets, rugs and blankets. Here they try to use whatever they can to provide a roof over their heads. They are among the thousands who have been forced to leave Kunduz in the north of Afghanistan. This amid intense fighting between government forces and the Taliban. The insurgents have already captured the surrounding districts and the main border crossing with Tajikistan. Since foreign troops started pulling out of Afghanistan on May the 1st, the Taliban have made significant gains. They claim to have seized 90 of the country's 400 districts, including near the capital, Kabul. Civilian casualties have been on the rise. Their offensive intensified after the US President Joe Biden decided to pull some 3,500 remaining troops out of Afghanistan by September the 11th. Around 7,000 other NATO forces are also leaving with the Americans. In April, the Taliban backed out of an international conference hosted by Turkey aimed at accelerating a peace process that started last year. There was hope that the talks would result in a ceasefire agreement.
They've had a chance.
At a meeting with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani at the White House on Friday, Biden pledged continued US support for the country, but stressed that it's up to Afghans to decide their own future.
We have some good news for you. More than $600,000 was donated to families of active duty military personnel going hungry during the pandemic. Of the donations, $350,000 has already reached families distributed in Texas by volunteers.
They're military families fighting hunger, but not today. On the front lines of food insecurity, your donations will buy 1 million meals. 300,000 have already reached families, some distributed near Fort Hood, Texas, by volunteers like Chief Warrant Officer Brad Young. One study mid-pandemic showed nearly 40% of active-duty military families sometimes went hungry.
So right now we're just kind of living off the one income and we're not used to it.
Every day these service people have our backs. You have theirs.
Welcome back. For more news, let's take you around the world in a minute. The Yamuna River flowing through the Indian capital of New Delhi is struggling to stay alive as the toxic foam floating over its surface is making it look like a drain. A hot air balloon crashed in New Mexico, killing 5 people, including the pilot, after apparently being blown into power lines by the wind and catching fire. More than 22,000 people applied to the European Space Agency to achieve their dreams to become the next space travelers. There was also a significant jump in the number of women committed to exploring space. Shareholders at Toshiba voted out its board chairman and one other director in a rebuke of the company after it was found to have colluded with the Japanese government in suppressing foreign investor interests. AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford have started new trials of a modified booster vaccine against the Beta variant, which was first emerged in South Africa. The trial will involve around 2,200 participants from the UK, South Africa, Brazil and Poland. The world's second largest dam has been completed and is ready to begin operations. The mega hydropower station located in southwest China's Sichuan province is expected to begin running on the 1st of July. And finally tonight, in 2021, the holiday is preparing many different surprises for the spectators in Russia who will immerse into the atmosphere of the fantasy created by Alexander Grin, the main dreamer and romantic of the Russian culture. Students in St. Petersburg celebrated the end of the school year with the Scarlet Sales, a climatic event at the annual White Nights Festival. This year, entrance to the festival, which normally welcomes millions, was reserved for school leavers only due to the surge in COVID-19 cases in Russia's second city. A large-scale fireworks display accompanied a ship with Scarlet Sails making its way slowly along the English and Admiralty embankments to the Winter Palace. The tradition of sailing a brigantine with Scarlet Sails started in the USSR in the 1960s and has remained popular ever since. It should be noted that Scarlet Sails bring fame to both St. Petersburg and the whole country as a whole in a global scale. This is the only holiday in Russia included in the list of global event tourism. Last year, more than 3,000 people watched the live stream of the Scarlet Sales Festival on the official tourist website of the northern capital. Well, that's all the news we have for you tonight. Join us again tomorrow with another edition of World News. I'm Suzanne Shanali. Until then, stay safe and have a good night.